The Alcohol License Review Committee is called to order. It's 5:37 p.m.
Welcome everyone to our hybrid meeting. Participants in the room, please do not join the meeting in Zoom. Virtual participants, if you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members attending virtually, if you are able, please activate your video for purposes of quorum and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Members of the committee, when you wish to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote, please push the person button on your microphone or raise your hand virtually. Those in the room will have their microphone turned on when they are recognized to speak. Those attending virtually can unmute themselves when recognized. When you are finished, all should mute themselves. Members of the public who have registered to speak. Those appearing virtually, the names you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. If you are here in person, when you are called to speak, approach one of the two podiums on either side of the dais and you will be recognized. For all registrants, the clerk will tell you when your time is up. After all public speakers, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the committee, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Thanks. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. This meeting is governed by Robert's rules. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must complete registration. And speakers may only speak to the committee after being called by the chair, and your time is limited to 3 minutes. And today, I think it's a good day for us to try a slightly different order of things. So I'll ask each applicant if they've gone through the required notifications to the alder, the neighborhood, and the police before that applicant provides their up to 3 minutes of testimony. That way, for an item that we usually wouldn't take up because those notifications aren't done, we can, the committee can make a decision about whether to set that aside for today or move on. And if any member of the committee has a problem with that, I invite you to let me know right now.
I don't see anyone.
Seeing none, let's move on. Oh, Alder Carter, or Ms. Carter.
Sherry, you're muted.
I just wanted to say, Chair, thank you for doing that. It will
really-
shave off some time. Thank you very much.
Can you repeat that, Ms. Carter?
I said, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, now
I
we hear
can,
you.
yes.
Okay. I just said thank you for thinking about that because that will shave off some time.
I'll have to give credit to Attorney McReynolds, who first came up with that idea.
Well, Attorney McReynolds, you should run for President of the United States because that was genius. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Alder Knox has his hand up.
Alder Knox.
You're still muted, Alder Knox.
I'm trying to
There.
unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that suggestion. The only thing is, one of the cases that's coming up, I talked to the person who filed the license, which was the accountant, but not with the actual person who's wanting the license who's here today. So hopefully that will suffice as having that conversation with the license holder. This was a person, the accountant, that filled it out, stating that it's because of the person's English proficiency.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for that heads
Just
up.
a little. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Mr. Verbeek, are there any registrants for general public comment?
We have to do a call.
Oh,
order, or a roll
Please call the roll.
Yeah. Alderman Yazdi?
Present.
Alderman Yazdi is here. Alder Revere?
Here.
Alder Revere is here. Mr. Brusick?
Here.
Mr. Brusick is here. Ms. Farley? Ms. Farley. Ms. Wester is excused. Alder Knox?
Here.
Alder Knox is here. And Ms. Carter?
Present.
Ms. Carter is here. Chair, we do have quorum.
Thank you. And so first on our list is presentation of the consent agenda. Mr. Verbeek, would you discuss the consent agenda?
Yeah, let me just double check that we don't have general public comment.
Okay.
We do not. Okay. So the consent agenda for today, for the proposed consent agenda for ALRC meeting November 20th, 2024, we have 2 items, and that's going to be a change of agent for item 2 and a request to extend the license issuance date beyond 180 days, item 4.
And the recommendation is to approve both of those?
Yeah, both would be recommended council to grant.
Are there any additions, or I should say, does any member of the committee wish to remove those from the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda and the recommendations? Ms. Carter?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Ms. Carter,
I'll second the motion.
second by Alder Knox. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. So just one more time, Mr. Verbeek, read those items so we know who's taken care of.
Sure. So the past consent agenda for ALRC meeting November 20th, 2024, recommended the council to grant item 2, change of agent for Quick Trip Inc., and item 4, request to extend license issuance beyond the 180-day limit under MGO 38.05 for Tacos and Tequila LLC.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to item number 7, public hearing, new license for Metzli. This one requires interpretation. Are there any registrants?
Yeah,
Mr. Verbeek?
Moises Fuerte is registered and in person.
He prefers to speak English and for me to be here as support, just in case he needs to clarify something.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name
Just
is.
wait for one moment, thank you. So, did the committee hear that? The applicant prefers to speak English and the interpreter will be by his side in case his services are needed. If there are no problems with that from the committee, I'll start with the first question. Have you made contact with the alder who represents this area, the police captain for that district, and the neighborhood?
Yes, I have.
representation? Each of those?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now you may discuss your business.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Moises Fuerte, and I'm here for Metzli, which is a new restaurant at the Bedline. And actually, one of the things that I would like to stress is since I had a meeting with Captain Sanders, we would like to change the hours of operation. We initially asked to be closing on weekends at 2 a.m., but after some remarks that the captain made to us, we would like to change that to close at 10 p.m.
Thank you. Questions from committee members? Ms. Carter?
Sherry, you're muted.
You said you wanted to change the hours to 10 p.m., but is that for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or just the weekend?
Actually, we would like to close all days of the week at 10 p.m. except Sundays. We will be closing at 8.
8 o'clock on Sundays.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Jim, can we get their application amended to those new hours?
I believe he did send a updated part of the application, which should be attached to the packet.
Okay, thank you.
It was a late addition today.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Ms. Carter, you have another question?
I do. So, I see you're applying for a liquor license, of course, but where are you going to? I'm very familiar with this location and this restaurant. It's been a restaurant for many, many years. Where are you going to be storing your liquor? And then the other thing is, are you going to be, is this just alcohol beverages for those that dine in, or are you going to be selling any of it?
Basically,
Like the takeout?
we're going to be storing the alcohol products in the basement. And we are just going to be serving alcohol with the food. Basically, our concept is based on traditional Mexican food. That is the reason that we didn't apply for a liquor license before, because we wanted that our restaurant is known by the food, not to get people getting to get a beer and then know the food. We want them first to know our food.
Thank you very much.
Are there further questions for the applicant? President Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. The applicant had a question on an email that I would like for to be clarified. He was wondering the change of hours, if that bound him to have the restaurant open until that time, or if he could close earlier. I know the answer to that, but I just wanted to get it on the record from you guys.
Do you want to answer that?
I think Jim, he sent that in an email to you.
I have not had a chance to check that. I don't believe they're bound to that, but I'm sure ACA McReynolds would probably answer that.
Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as long as there's no conditions on the license, the hours in the application wouldn't bind the applicant to those. And they would not be, for example, if they chose to close early or something, that they would not be penalized for not staying open during the hours that they are planning.
Yes, so they cannot stay longer, but they can close earlier.
Well, I
Unless there's
they can-
conditions.
right, unless there's no, and if there's conditions, they have to close, if the conditions are they have to close at a certain time, that is a condition of the license. Other than that, if there's no conditions, they could be open whenever, bars and restaurants are allowed to be open. That's my understanding.
Well, then on that note, thanks for pointing that out. Captain Sanders was very concerned about the closing time, and that's why the applicant, decided to change them to the times that they're offering. So I will ask the committee to consider putting the conditions to match the new hours the applicant put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, do you have a question?
Yeah, two things. Jim, can you make sure that we get that email in our records?
Yeah.
Because we didn't receive it.
Okay. It should be attached to the legislative file too. If not, I can add it.
Okay, I hope it is.
It is.
Yeah, it is. You have further questions, Ms. Carter?
No, I don't. I just want to make sure that we have the information to us as commissioners of this committee. I think it's important for us to have the information and not receive it orally and unable to look at it prior to. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Knox?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the attorney's comments. So is there a difference between having the hours in the license and having an actual condition, or is that virtually the same?
No, the condition would be controlling. Jim, do hours even go in a license?
No, only the condition. If there's a condition for hours, goes in license.
Yeah. So, after something comes through the ALRC and goes to council, no one's really looking back at that application and holding anyone to that application. It's based on what is in the license and the conditions in the license.
So basically what you're saying is, I think you kind of indicated, if the person stayed open beyond 10 o'clock, it would not be any kind of violation or anything like that.
Correct.
Is that
Unless there
correct?
was yes, unless there is a condition.
Well, in this case,
In all
There-
cases.
right, but in this case, there is no condition, correct?
Well, not yet, because you haven't, because the,
Right, okay, so far.
Right.
Thank you.
Is it fair to say that the application, the hours listed on the application are to inform the committee what the intention of the applicant is, so we can decide about things like conditions and other things that within our purview?
exactly. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Carter, you have another question?
Yes, I know that Captain Sanders had a conversation with Captain Angela. I would like for her to tell us what that was.
Yes, I think it's what the applicant basically stated, that I think his concern was having the restaurant open until 2 a.m. And so that he also, I know Captain Sanders also then got word via email from the applicant or later this afternoon and said that with the hours that he is now proposing, he has no issues with the granting of the license.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Is there any further questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there any discussion of this application?
I guess I believe the order requested that some conditions be applied relative to the hours of operation. Just discussion here. Yeah.
Sure. And Ms. Carter?
I was just going to say that we could add, I'm willing to, and of course, Alder Revere will make this complete when he chimes in. But the establishment will close Monday through Saturday, shall close Monday through Saturday at 10 o'clock, Sunday at 8 o'clock, and at all times have the I think I'm drawing a blank. I've had too many meetings today, but at all times adhere to the requirements of a restaurant, and I'll let Alder Revere wordsmith that. My mind is fried.
Alder Revere, any comments or a motion?
Thank you, Chair. I suggest the following motion, and I'll formally move to grant the application with the condition that alcohol service shall cease by 10 p.m. nightly.
The motion is to grant with the condition that alcohol sales shall cease at 10 p.m.
Service is what we usually use, Chair.
Okay. Alcohol service shall cease at 10 p.m. nightly. Is there a second?
By.
Did I reread it correctly?
By, not at, by.
By.
To allow for flexibility, yeah.
I thought they were.
I'll repeat, alcohol service shall cease by 10 p.m. nightly.
I thought they were closing at 8 on Sunday.
Well, hold on. Let's get the motion down and then we can debate it.
There's a second. I'd like to speak to the motion, Chair.
I'll just have Jim read it back so everyone knows.
Alcohol service shall cease by 10 p.m. nightly.
Is there a second? Alder Miadzi? Second?
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
by Alder Revere, second by Alder Miadzi. And Alder Revere, do you have comments or?
Yes, yeah, thank you to speak to the motion. I'm just following our past precedents in these similarly situated situations where, and I appreciate the South District Police Commander providing feedback, and certainly very much appreciate the Alder of the district and moreover the applicant readily agreeing to try to address that concern. So by law, a bona fide restaurant, which this is presenting itself to be, could be open 24/7 to serve food, simply not alcohol, our jurisdiction. And so what we simply do in cases like this in the past is have the simple condition that is this motion. Indeed, the Sunday, the applicant is volunteering that he will close the restaurant a couple hours earlier at 8 p.m. on Sundays, but I can't imagine that any of us or the captain has concerns about prescribing as a ironclad condition what time they open, what time they close as a restaurant, and especially not a concern if they stop alcohol service at 8 p.m. on Sunday versus 10 p.m. on Sunday. It was simply a reaction to the initial application of being open till midnight and presumably alcohol till midnight Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. So I hope that perhaps addresses the concerns of some of my colleagues might have in terms of an explanation. In terms of Ms. Carter's suggestion of an additional condition, I didn't believe that it was necessary to have a condition that they be a bona fide restaurant, but we could certainly add that. I wouldn't object to that. I just didn't personally have a concern that they will not be a bona fide restaurant, but we could certainly add that condition as well if you'd like.
Further comments on the motion? Are there any further comments on the motion? Seeing none, is there any objection to granting this with the condition that alcohol service shall cease by 10 p.m. nightly? Seeing no objection, the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Next, we are on item 12, La Penca Madison. Is there a registrant for this one?
Yeah, Jesus Ramirez Zuniga.
Ramirez Zuniga?
Yes.
So, Mr. Zuniga, did you,
I need to promise.
do you want to swear on the interpreter?
Can you raise your hand? Raise your hand. You affirm to accurately interpret English to Spanish, Spanish to English?
I do.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. We make a good team here. Mr. Zuniga, did you make the required notifications to the alder, the police captain, and the neighborhood?
Sí, mire, sí hablé a un número que viene ahí de todos los, cuando fui a recoger la aplicación, me dieron una hoja que viene todos los números que debía marcar y al que debía marcar era el de la zona y el de policía y yo marqué, pero nunca tuve una respuesta de parte de la comunidad, solamente mi llamada la transfirieron al departamento de policía. No.
Yeah, when I was like submitting the application, submitting the application, they gave me some paperwork with some numbers to call. I called them, zoning, and they transferred me to the police officer, and I talked to a police officer, but then I was not successful on talking to the other people.
Okay, thanks for that answer. Alder Knox.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I did talk to Arnie Ruiz, who was the person in contact on the license. And so I did talk to him, and he indicated that the owner, had some English, issues. So I did talk to him. And then apparently he talked to MPD as well.
Okay. So Alder Knox or any member of the committee, is this sufficient to proceed then with this public hearing today? Seeing no objection. Please discuss your business and tell us why you want, why you're applying for a Class B combination.
Bueno, mire, ¿quieres leer el inglés?
En español, en español.
Ok, sí, bueno, mire, pues la razón es porque actualmente pues tenemos una licencia de alcohol de alcohol y cerveza. Entonces solamente estamos transfiriendo la licencia actual al nuevo LC. Y pues actualmente estamos con el restaurante abierto y queremos seguir en el negocio. Es la razón que por eso estamos aplicando para la nueva licencia.
Is there any questions? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So right now we already have like a license for alcohol and beer. So what we are just doing is transferring it to the new LLC, but we want to keep the restaurant open during this process.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Ms. Carter.
Yeah, I just want a clarification. So you said you talked to zoning. Did you talk to the neighborhood officer? I mean, captain or neighborhood officer?
No, intenté llamar al número de Sony, pero mi llamada no fue exitosa y me transfirieron la llamada al departamento de policía. Eso fue lo único.
Yeah, I tried calling to the zoning number, but they transferred my call to the police department.
Okay. And who did your accountant talk to?
¿Con quién habló su contable? ¿Con quién habló?
¿Quién?
¿El contable o la persona que habló con el concejal? Con el... With Alder Knox. He's pointing at himself.
Yes.
Just Alder Knox?
Entonces la persona que habló con el concejal.
Okay. And where is your restaurant located? Is it at by the laundromat?
Sí, es el 1821 South Park Street. Es el que está junto a la lavandería.
Yes, by the laundromat on 1821 South Park.
Okay. And do you currently have a liquor license?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Ms. Carter, did you raise your hand again? Nope. Further questions from the committee? Alder Knox.
Yeah, can MPD confirm that that someone, either the accountant or the license applicant, talked to MPD? Because I can't confirm that.
Captain Komaski, did you hear that
Yes,
question?
I believe that Captain Zanders did talk with, if it wasn't the applicant himself, it was the accountant that Alder Knox is referring to, and that he did not have any concerns with this, that this has already had a liquor license, and there has not been issues here.
Are there any further questions from the committee? Alder Knox? His hand went down. I think I saw Alder Miadzi next.
Just wanted to move approval.
Okay, so I think let's just check if Alder Revere has a question, and then we'll move to the next stage. Alder Revere? Or is that the same thing?
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question or two for the applicant.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one is, is the establishment currently open and serving alcohol?
Yes.
Are you aware that, according to the records I have access to, that you don't hold a valid alcohol license because of a hold on your license for delinquent personal property taxes? And I'd ask the Deputy City Clerk to confirm that for us as well.
Can you clarify? You mean like the license is not valid because there are like issues with the personal tax payments? Is that?
According to the city clerk's database that I just accessed, it says that the license cannot be issued due to a hold for delinquent 2023 personal property tax owed to the city treasurer.
No es correcto, debe haber algún error porque todo eso se ha pagado.
There might be a mistake because all that is paid for.
That's good to hear. Could I, Chair, before I proceed with my next question, is the Deputy City Clerk able to confirm that now, or should we come back to Jim?
I won't be able to confirm it. I'd have to reach out to the treasurer's office to confirm whether or not that's been paid.
Do you see what I'm looking at, though?
I do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so sometimes the treasurer's office removes the hold on one of the licenses, but doesn't the other. I see there's a food and drink one under that same holder, and it's still there, so I don't think it's been removed, but I can't confirm that. The treasurer's office would have to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. Do you have a further?
Then back.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Chair. Yeah. So then back to the applicant, please. So could you confirm, is the ownership changing at all? I understand the corporate structure is changing with the limited liability company being created. Are the exact same individuals members of that limited liability company that are the current owners of the restaurant?
Yes, the same ones.
Very good. So obviously, in terms of this tax issue, it's important that, as soon as tomorrow we figure out what's going on there, not only because it would affect the new license, but also whether or not you could legally serve alcohol tomorrow at the restaurant. technically at least. The other question I have is the applicant aware that there are numerous conditions on the current alcohol license? To be specific, there are 9 of them, which is a quite high number. If the applicant is aware, have they had a chance to look at those conditions recently?
Ok, sí, sí.
Yes, I'm aware of them.
Okay. It seems to me that if the South District Police Commander had no issues with how the operation of the restaurant has been over the years, and similarly important would be the Alder of the district, Alder Knox, perhaps these conditions should not be continued over to the new license. I could read them. There are many, and I think it all has to do with the location of this establishment when it was first, when it opened back in 2019, or at least when we licensed them in 2019. And Alder Carter was actually the representative on the city council at the time, and she probably has a memory of this, why we were concerned and added so many licenses to so many license conditions. So I don't know if that's a question for the applicant, Chair. Perhaps it's more for Captain Kamaski, if she, in her conversation, and for Alder Knox as well, but in their respective conversations, were there any discussions about continuing the license conditions, and if it's necessary? They cover everything from outdoor amplified music to trash to business hours, to having a security plan with the South District, requiring closing at 10 p.m. nightly. I could go on and on.
Alder Knox has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I wasn't aware of all those conditions. I was just wondering if perhaps former Alder Carter might be able to shed a little light in terms of how those conditions developed, and if it was as a result of maybe the neighborhood concerns or of that.
Alder, Ms. Carter.
Thank you. Yes, many of those conditions came from the immediate neighbors on Bell Street, because you can enter that property from Park Street and Bell Street. So a lot of those conditions were placed on it, on that license, because of that. In addition, the previous 2 restaurants that were in that location had issues. This address has many issues, and the 2 previous restaurants continued with those same issues. I don't know what the current feeling for the neighborhood is, but I do know that that I don't know if this person has amplified music, but I do know a lot of it was because they left the rear door open and it would flow into the neighborhood.
If I don't know if I'm technically recognized or not, Chair. Apologies if I'm not, but
you're
but
recognized.
obviously thank you. I remember the address because it was a pretty infamous address that formerly housed our place on Park, which we went through revocation proceedings years ago. So I could, if folks are interested, I or the deputy city clerk could read all of the conditions. And again, as I suggested too, it means obviously it's very meaningful to have the Alder of the district and Captain Kamaski, by way of communicating recently with Captain Zanders, perhaps give their input if these are, most or all of these are even necessary anymore. Jim, would you feel comfortable reading them, or do you prefer I read them?
Yeah, the current conditions, I can read that.
Yes, please.
Number 1, establishment shall close at 10 p.m. daily. Number 2, establishment shall provide MPD South District with a security plan. Number 3, establishment shall sweep the parking lot for trash and alcohol containers at least once every day during operating hours. Number 4, the owner shall meet with the Alder, MPD South District, and neighborhood residents after 4 months of business. 5, establishments shall not use the outdoor trash bin or the rear door facing Beld Street after 9 p.m. Number 6, establishment shall not have any amplified music on the exterior of the building. Number 7, establishment shall have food available during operating hours. Number 8, establishment owner designee shall be available during business hours. And number 9, establishment shall meet the definition of a restaurant as defined by Madison General Ordinance 38.02 at all times.
Thank you. Were you finished with your questions, or Alder Verveer?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
I guess, as I said, I am just interested in the input of the Alder of the district and Captain.
Okay.
To the existing conditions, whether or not some or all of them should continue. Thank you.
Alder Knox?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. You refreshed my memory, even when I was Alder before, about that location. Yeah, I'm inclined to suggest we keep the conditions, given that, knowing that community on Bell Street, if they were comfortable with those conditions, I would be reluctant to change them, even though this may represent some new management. And then I like the one that talked about meeting with the Alder and MPD after 4 months. So I'm comfortable with approving this with the current conditions, as long as the owner is aware of those. And I don't know, I didn't hear you all interpreting, those conditions to the owner, but I think it needs to be clear that they understand what those conditions are.
The applicant's being apprised of everything we're saying right now.
Okay.
Ms. Carter?
Yeah, I just want to have a bit of a clarification, because these conditions, I don't believe, go back to ours place, but they definitely go back to the last 2 restaurants that were in this location. And I think that if you want to, in the future, change the conditions, meeting with the Bell Street residents would be beneficial.
Okay, let's see if there are any more questions for the applicant. And then if there are none, we can move into discussion. Are there any more questions for the applicant?
No.
Do you have, so you're aware of the conditions that are on the license now?
Yes.
What's your thoughts about keeping those conditions as they are versus removing them?
No, pues no pienso al respecto de remover nada. Creo que todo actualmente pues está bien. Sí, creo que está bien al momento.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of removing any of them. I think everything is working fine as it is.
Thank you. We may have more questions, but I think you're done for now.
Okay.
So thanks for talking with us. Are there any discussion from the committee? Alder Mihazy.
Oh, yeah, I just want to ask staff, how come this wasn't flagged as far as with the taxes? Is that's something that, and how was Alder Mike Rivera how come he was able to see it without, just wanted to see some background on that. How come it wasn't flagged earlier?
It was. I know it was identified as a location to visit just after renewals for the places that hadn't had their license issued to them. I know ACA Zilvia had sent me an update that MPD had checked in with them, and there should have been notification that the personal property taxes had not been paid yet. I think there's some other issue too that was also came up at the time. Let me see if I can find it. But that, I think the other issue was resolved. Let's see. It was, so the liquor license was unpaid, but they did pay that. And then the personal property tax was unpaid, as best as we can tell, was the update I had received.
All right, thank you.
Any discussion from the committee? The issue, did you just say, Mr. Verbeek, that the, as far as you can tell, the tax has been paid, or?
I don't know if the tax has been paid or not. I don't know if the tax has been paid or not. That's not something I'm able to view.
Okay.
It'd be the treasurer's office.
Is that, so is that a?
Chair,
Go ahead.
can I change my motion to refer this to the next meeting in order for city staff to be able to do their due diligence and just see if to talk to the treasurer's office?
Yes, you can make that motion. So the motion is to refer to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting with the expectation that staff will review with the treasurer's office. Alder Verveer?
Thank you, Chair. As to remind the committee, another alternative, which we've used in the past, is to simply make our formal recommendation this evening. It won't appear on the city council agenda until next month. And so we would have plenty of time then, as alders, especially Alder Knox as the alder of the district, to just receive confirmation from the city clerk and the city treasurer that all debt to the city is fully paid. So I would lean toward that, given the advice of the alder of the district to simply grant with the existing conditions tonight and deal with the tax issue at the council meeting in December is my suggestion, but I won't make that motion. I'll let the alder of the district do that, or Alder Mayadzi.
Alder Knox, your hand was up, but then down. Did you? Okay, so. So, is there a second to Alder Madzi's motion?
Second.
So the motion is to refer to the next ALRC meeting, and it's been seconded by Ms. Carter. Let's.
And I should say second for the purpose of discussion.
Okay. Any points of discussion, Ms. Carter? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I would like a friendly amendment because I think the motion or the statement that Alder Verveer just said really works for this. If it's already paid, then Jim can find out tomorrow, and then we don't have to have it necessarily come back to us. So I would like to see that condition as a friendly amendment if the originator agrees.
I agree. Alder Sherry.
Okay.
Thank you. And can Alder Verveer repeat the wording?
So my suggestion, to repeat my suggestion, and again, as a courtesy, I usually prefer the alder of the district, if they serve on the committee, make the motion. But if with Alder Knox's permission, I can go ahead and move formally to grant the license application, to grant the license with the existing conditions being continued. So then I don't think we need those read again, but Mr. Verbeek would then continue that list, those list of conditions as part of this motion. So that's the motion. And then if there's a second, I'll just explain one other aspect quickly. It looks like the alder of the district is seconding. Thank you.
Okay, so
Are you
just getting all that for the record? Okay, go ahead.
So just to put a pin on this and perhaps in the debate, every item on tonight's ALRC agenda is scheduled to be before the Common Council on December 10th. So we have plenty of time between tomorrow and December 10th to confirm that the unpaid personal property tax and any other debt to the city that would normally hold up the licensing has been satisfied. And so, the deputy city clerk could easily email the three alders on this committee, as he's done in the past, in advance of the December 10th council meeting, and just to confirm that all debts are paid. There are no formal holds on the license, the existing license or the new license. But obviously, the sooner we know that, the better, because if there is still unpaid debt, as I've said earlier, alcohol sales are prohibited at the restaurant tonight and tomorrow if there is unpaid debt.
Okay, thank you. The motion is to grant with the existing conditions, and it's been seconded. Is there any further comments on this motion? Is there any objection to approval of this motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. So, thank you for speaking with us tonight. This will go before the Common Council on December 10th. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 3, second request to extend license beyond the 180-day limit, Cielo. Is there a registrant for this one, Mr. Verbeek?
Let's see. Yes, there is. The registrant is Susan McKinney, and she should be in Zoom.
Ms. McKinney, can you hear us?
Unmute. There we go. Hello?
I hear you.
Okay, good.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Hello.
Can you tell us about your request?
Yeah, I wrote a little statement that I'll just read. That'll help me keep my thoughts clear. So in the first few months following the issuance of the liquor license for Cielo at 118 State Street, we had to wait for an engineer to complete the drawings of planned renovations for the building. And I will say that I purchased the building on March 29th, and I couldn't really start anything until that date. So okay, then I had the engineer standing by, and then he made the plans, submitted to him. They had to be approved, and then were approved by the city of Madison. And then there was a wait for building permits, followed by some weeks occupied with trying to get funds together to install a building-wide sprinkler system. And then I finally did get the funds together, and I signed a contract with Monona Plumbing and Fire Protection on October 9th. So I'm just kind of telling you why all these months have gone by. We are very committed to opening Cielo. So anyway, design and installation for the sprinkler system, including adding a second source of water to the building. That's been going on this week. It's underway. And then once installation is complete, or maybe overlapping before it's totally complete, the sprinkler system that is, renovations by Rivera Construction of Madison will begin. So I expect to open, and I mean, I just am, kind of hesitant to say when I expect to open because I expected to open months ago, but hopefully early 2025.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Mr. Verbeek, is this something that normally is on the consent agenda?
We put the first request on the consent agenda. Any additional requests would be off the consent agenda.
Okay, so the second, because it's a second request, that's the only reason?
Correct.
Is there any, Alder Revere?
Thank you, Chair. I move to grant.
I second.
Motion by Alder Revere, second by Alder Miadzi to grant. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the request is granted. The motion passes. Next on our agenda, 21 Plus Entertainment License application for, this is item 5 for One Social.
There's also an alcohol license later in the.
And, okay, so then that, we'll take that up along with item number 14, which is the Class B combo license application. If there's no objection, we'll take those up together. So once again, item 5 and 14, is there any registrant for these?
There is, Dan Kennelly is registered support and wishing to speak and here.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for coming, Mr. Kennelly. Have you made the required notifications to the alder, the neighborhood, and the police captain?
Yes.
Excellent. Go ahead and tell us about your business.
Sure. So, yeah, good evening, everybody. So my name's Dan Kennelly, and I'm with Quad Capital Partners. We are the developer of the 109 building at 109 East Wilson Street. We're also the owner and investor in 109 Retail LLC, which will be the ownership entity for the establishment that's applying for the license. Also joining on the virtual call is Kevin Godiko from Main Street Ventures Restaurant Group. They'll be our operating partner. So just kind of first a little background on the building. So the 109 is under construction right now on 109 East Wilson Street. It'll be 340 apartments upstairs, high-end, top-notch finishes and amenities, targeting young professionals and empty nesters. So the building is under construction now. The ground floor of the building is 18,000 square feet of commercial space. It's divided by an open-air promenade through the middle of the site that'll connect Wilson Street to plazas overlooking the lake. And on one side of that promenade is a restaurant that will be sort of an upscale steakhouse concept. And then the other side is going to be a food hall with 7 individual vendors, and then one bar, and the alcohol sales would only be at the bar in the food hall. So, like I said, Quad Capital, my company is developing the building and will own the restaurant and food hall. And then our operating partner, who we've engaged, is Main Street Ventures, and they will operate the restaurant and manage the food hall. Like I said, the concept is kind of a steakhouse restaurant in the restaurant, and then sort of this multi-tenant food hall on the other side. So that's what we're doing. The building's under construction now. It'll be completed late summer of 2025. And I did talk to the captain and Alder Revere and the neighborhood association, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for members of the committee? Alder Miadzi.
Sounds like a great project and sounds really beautiful. I just wanted to hear from the alder of the district to see what his takes on the project. Thank you.
Alder Revere, do you want to respond to that?
Well, yeah, I'll simply say I'm very excited, especially for the food hall concept. It's been discussed for a couple of years now, and it's just so thrilling to see it come closer to fruition. If there are no other questions by my colleagues, Chair, I'm happy to move to grant both agenda items.
I second.
Thank you. Motion by Alder Revere, second by Alder Miadzi to grant. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion passes, and this will go before council next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. New license public hearing for Elementary, 2623 Monroe Street. Is there a registrant for this one?
I have a Bonnie Arndt and registered in support, available to answer questions. And Bonnie? Yep, you can come up.
Oh, got it. I didn't know I needed, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have you made the, it's getting late, I'm forgetting my vocabulary. Have you discussed this with the three required entities, the police, the neighborhood, and the alder of the district?
Yes.
Perfect. And so go ahead and tell us about your business.
Yeah, we're currently at 306 South Brierley Street, and we are going to be moving our entire business over to 2623 Monroe Street. So we're just, applying for the same license, same hours, just selling,
Everything pretty much the same?
Correct, yep.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Alder Miadzi.
Well, since it's already been the same, I'm just wondering, were there any community engagement?
Sorry, what was the question?
He asked, has there been any community engagement? Feel free to clarify your question, Alder.
Thank you.
Oh, just wondering if there was any communication between the residents on how they felt about this.
We had the meeting where we notified, and we were available to speak. We didn't have anyone who came. I haven't necessarily reached out exactly to the community, but we've had a ton of people into the current establishment expressing excitement over us coming to the neighborhood. We were at the neighborhood meeting a couple months ago, and also very similar vibes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Was there anything else, Alder Miadzi? It sounded like you were saying something. If not, Ms. Carter.
Yes. So Bonnie, wouldn't you call the fact that you were at the neighborhood meeting that was outreach to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then have you also, maybe I missed this part, but did you have a conversation with the alder?
Correct. Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Any further questions? Are there any further questions from members of the committee? Is there a motion or any discussion? Alder Miadzi.
Motion to grant?
A motion to grant by Alder Miadzi. Is there a second? Is that Alder Knox is signaling for a second?
I'll second Alder Knox.
Motion by Alder Miadzi, second by Knox, to grant. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just note that Colin Kofel had registered in support, not wishing to speak for this item as well.
Thank you. Okay, next we have item number 8, Blue Moon Bar and Grill, 2535 University Avenue. Is there a registrant for this one?
Tracy Schmock is registered and in Zoom.
Ms. Schmock?
Okay, am I on now?
Yes, I can hear you. Have you made the, have you discussed this request with the neighborhood, the police, and the alder who represents that district?
Yes, I have. They've all said that they've known our place since 1994. We've been there for 30 years. And what happened is my brother-in-law decided to retire, so I bought out his 50% and made a new entity name under an LLC. So when I called Regina, the alder person, she was like, yeah, you're good. We don't need to meet. And then also with Shiva and Jason Friedman, I know him from 118 State Street from the State Bar and Grill, so he knows who we are. I did not actually speak to him, but he knows that we've been there for a while.
Thank you. So you did notify, I know that this is a small change, but you said you did notify the
Yep,
Madison
all of them.
Police. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your business right now?
Well, we're a neighborhood bar and we've been known for the best burgers. Now we have salads. You know, we have a neighborhood crowd there every day. It's been very successful and very good.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Ms. Carter?
Yeah, I'm curious. You said you notified the alder and then you notified one resident?
Oh, no,
You said Shiva?
yeah, neighborhood association.
Oh, okay, thank
Yep,
you.
the neighborhood, yep.
Further questions from the committee? Not seeing any further questions. Is there a motion or any discussion? Alder Verveer. Alder Verveer. Did he have his hand up?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
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 Just one question. There are several conditions on your current license. I would say the same about your license conditions as I said about establishment on South Park Street, where there's actually unusual number of conditions. We did receive email you might have seen from one of your neighbors that's very supportive of the new license, however, emphasize that they believe that these conditions should remain on your license. Are you familiar with the existing 9 conditions on your license, and do you have any input for us as to whether or not you believe any should be modified all these years later when the license was originally issued, or have any input on that?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So I guess I'm not currently aware of what the conditions were. I assume that it was a bar same as all the other bars, so I don't know.
They mostly relate to noise. I hate to impose on our deputy city clerk, but I think you have a better voice than I do. Jim, would you mind sharing with all of us the 9 conditions on the existing license, please? Or would you prefer I read them?
No, absolutely, I can do it.
Thank you.
Number 1, post a sign at front door and have staff tell customers leaving the Blue Moon to please be considerate to neighboring residents in the vicinity. 2, back door will be kept closed except when being used as an exit. Number 3, the Blue Moon will notify residents of the 2500 block of Kendall Avenue by mail whenever it intends to have a live band on the premises or to provide a schedule of same. Number 4, placement of a legible sign at each building exit door reminding patrons to be quiet and respectful of neighboring residents as they leave establishment and locate their vehicles. Number 5, honor a no noise agreement concerning the disposition of empty cans and bottles between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. daily. Post notices for employees, particularly on back door, to remind them of this commitment. Number 6, recycle and waste hauling trucks are not to arrive prior to 7:30 a.m. to pick up materials. Number 7, any expansion or change to the outdoor seating must be approved by the Regent Neighborhood Association Board after public notice to the neighborhood via the RNA listserv. Number 8, no music or speakers in the balcony. And number 9, balcony will close. No patrons sitting in the balcony at 9 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday and 10 p.m. Thursday through Saturday.
Thank you, Jim, for reading those for us.
Yeah.
Tracy, do you have any comments or thoughts on that? I guess the bottom line question, Tracy, is do you have any problem with just continuing the existing conditions on your new license?
Yeah, I think just continuing would be fine.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for making it easy for us.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, and thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honor and knowing. Can I ask Attorney McReynolds, I'm a bit concerned about condition 5, which reads, honor a no noise agreement concerning the disposition of empty cans and bottles between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. daily. Post notices for employees, particularly on the back door, to remind them of this commitment. So I guess my question is, what does that mean? And how would you interpret that should it come up?
Yeah, I'm guessing that there were complaints back whenever those conditions were agreed upon about like dumping cans and glass bottles outside, and that was loud for some neighborhood folks. So they're agreeing to not be making a bunch of clanking noises, I guess, outside between those hours, and that there should be a sign posted to remind employees of those hours, that they're not supposed to be dumping cans outside or bottles outside.
Okay. Do you have any concerns in your legal opinion about any of these conditions?
No, as long as an applicant agrees to conditions, there shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or motions from members of the committee? Alder Revere.
Thank you. I move to grant.
Motion to grant by Alder Revere.
And I should have stated the obvious with all of the existing conditions.
With all of the existing conditions. Alder Miazzi.
I second it.
and is seconded by Alder Miazzi. Any discussion of the motion? Is there any objection to this motion? To grant with all of the existing conditions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Schmock. Next, we have item number 9, Izakaya Kuroyama. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. 419 State Street. Is there a registrant?
Yes.
This one, Jim.
Hugo Liang is
Yes.
registered and present.
Thank you. And did you make the notifications? Did you talk to the neighborhood, the alder, and the police?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Now, tell us about your business.
So I'm the owner of Shinya Izakaya, and it was open from back in 2018 in Chicago. That's my first location, and then I opened my second location 2 years ago in Wicker Park in Chicago as well. So when I came to a beautiful city here in Madison, and falling in love in this city, and I would like to serve the same good foods the same way in Chicago here, because I don't see any food that is like us in Japanese street food, basically. We don't do sushi like it's like real authentic Japanese food. So we're happy to do that, and thank you for hosting the meeting today, giving me an opportunity to do it. Our hours is going to be 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's the same hour that I have in the previous 2 restaurants as well. So, and our neighbors love our food, and they come in on late nights and trying to have some food because some of the restaurants they close, and they love to have food in the late night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from members of the committee?
I do have a question. I don't know if you saw in my email to you about the notice of the meeting, but your liquor bureau agent Kurt had his background check flagged, and the MPD was hoping to speak to Kurt regarding the issues in the background check.
Oh, I didn't aware of that.
Okay.
But I have very clean backgrounds. I'm the owner, and I also at the residency right now. So I will be taking over after a couple of months because I think I need to stay here for 3 months to be the agent. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I aware of that. So I already have my ID here. So I'm permanent resident here.
So are you saying that you haven't met the 3-month requirement for the liquor bureau agent? And you're waiting, you're willing to be an agent if you need to be?
Exactly.
Once
Yes.
you're eligible, okay.
Yes.
Are there any questions from members of the committee? Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. For the applicant, I was wondering if you plan to meet the definition of a restaurant at all times and have food available at all times that your hours are open?
Yes, so as long as I'm serving alcohol and I will have my food available at the time.
Okay. And if the ALRC wishes to, would you agree to conditions on the license about having food available at all times and meeting the definition of a restaurant?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome and a special welcome for opening your establishment on State Street. Could you explain your relationship with the proposed liquor beer agent, Kurt Helene?
Yes, so he's my landlord.
Yes, I was aware of that. And I noticed it stood out to me on your application because it would be unorthodox to have the landlord be a proposed liquor beer agent, since they wouldn't really be responsible for any of the day-to-day activities of the establishment. So just to confirm what you were saying, your intent is to propose nominating yourself as a liquor beer agent and not having your landlord be the agent?
So that will be when I stay in here for 3 months. I stay here for a month already, so it's 2 more months, and then I will be submitting my own beer agent, and replace Kurt. But for now, Kurt will become occasionally to check up as well.
Well, I don't think we can comfortably approve him tonight with we haven't heard from the police department what his record consists of, but I am a little concerned. Let me back up a little bit. Have you already opened the restaurant without your beer and wine license, or when is your anticipated opening date now?
So I plan to open it with together, combined with the beer and wine together. So as soon as these approved, and we will be open on December 1st.
I see.
That's our target date.
Okay, and that's because your intent, if we approve you tonight, is you'd apply for a provisional license with the city clerk? Are you familiar with the provisional license? Without a provisional license, we wouldn't be able to license you before the December 10th city council meeting.
Oh, yes, I noticed that. But they also told me that I can, as long as here's approved, and I can submit another application and get it a little early. So I'm not like 100% know about this, but they also told me that step as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so you don't.
I'm sorry?
I was going to clarify. You don't need to submit a different application, but if the ALRC approves, you can reach out to building inspection, fire, zoning, and health. And if all four of them are okay with the license, then you can pay the license at that point along with the provisional $15 fee, and then get the license issued before common council.
Okay, I see. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, thank you, Deputy City Clerk. So I don't believe I have any further questions for the applicant, Chair. I did, wish for us to hear from the police captain about the record of the proposed agent and see how significant that might be before we proceed further.
Captain Komoski, do you have information about that?
Yes, so it was flagged because Mr. Helene is showing a conviction in 2015, so 9 years ago, for a first-time OWI offense out of Waukesha Police Department. That is what is on his record.
Thank you. So, Captain, that's the extent of it. One conviction for forfeiture for OWI first?
Yes.
Okay, great. 9 years ago. Okay, thanks very much.
Any further questions from the committee?
Thank you, Chair. I'll yield.
Are there any further questions from the committee? Any points of discussion or a motion? Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. The reason I asked about maintaining food and being considered as a restaurant while open is because this is in the alcohol overlay district. And so if this is not considered a restaurant while open, it would likely run into problems being approved from zoning point of view.
Oh, yeah, we
So
are.
I just,
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, I just wanted to point that out to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so we're restaurant-based. We focus on food, like almost like 90% and to 85% food. We're only selling alcohol, like a beer, and also the sake, which is like a wine, to match the food as just, we're not like a.
Okay. So at your other restaurants, between the hours of, say, 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., you're still serving a lot of food, people are
Yes,
eating?
a lot
Okay.
of food, yes.
Are there any other questions from the committee or comments? I think it's appropriate time for a motion and discussion if anyone has anything. Alder Verveer?
Thank you. I move to grant the license with the condition that the establishment shall meet the definition of a restaurant defined by Madison General Ordinance 38.02 at all times. And as a further condition, a second condition, that food shall be available food shall be available at all times during operating hours.
Those are standard conditions. Do you have those handy with the exact wording, Mr. Burby?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Carter. So does anyone object to granting this with the standard condition about meeting the definition of a restaurant and the other standard condition about having food available at all times? Seeing no objection, the motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Next up, item 10, Holiday Inn at the American Center, 5109 West Terrace Drive. Is there any registrant for this one, Mr. Verbeek?
Yes. I'm sorry, no, I don't see a registrant for this item.
Okay. And have you heard anything from this applicant?
I've not.
Okay. Ms. Carter?
Yes, I move to refer this to our next meeting.
Motion to refer to the next meeting by Ms. Carter. And a second by Alder Miadzi. Any objection? Seeing none, this is referred to the next meeting. Next up, item 11, Forward Craft and Coffee, 2166 Atwood Ave. Is there a registrant for this one, Jim?
There is. Dan Podell is registered and in Zoom.
Yes, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you. Did you discuss your application with the alder, the police, and the neighborhood?
Yes, I have.
Sounds good. Is there a hand up, Ms. Carter? I don't think so. So, Mr. Podell, you can tell us about your business.
Sure. We are Forward Craft and Coffee. We are a coffee shop on Atwood Avenue on the east side of Madison. We've had our Class B beer license since opening for about 2 years and 5 months or so. We are in this meeting today looking to expand our license up to liquor as well, so we can diversify our menu a little bit and just add some craft cocktails in the way of like espresso martini, Irish coffees, that type of thing. Looking at a small addition of the menu, so no large changes like in regards to like rum and cokes or anything like that. So limited menu on the cocktail side, but with the need of the liquor license to do so. We would, with liquor sales too, everything would be on premise, nothing would be off premise, and storage would be the same as our beer storage currently. My partner and co-owner, Chad Walhood, is also present. So if there's any additional questions that may be required in person, he is sitting right to the right of you, I believe, right now. But happy to continue to answer questions via Zoom as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicants? Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question about your answer to number 20 on the application form. Assuming you don't have it in front of you or for the benefit of others, the question is, does the corporation, any officer, any director, any stockholder, liquor agent, LLC, any member, or any manager hold any interest in any other alcohol beverage license or permit in Wisconsin? And you checked yes and then said considering of alcoholic cider. So could you explain that, please?
Yeah, great. Great question. So with that, we do not, with the current license we have right now, we do the beer only and then put the potential of liquor with this. We do not have the addition to sell cider liquid or cider on our premises right now. So, just something we'd think about down the road if successful with this, and then want to continue to diversify product.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any other question for the applicant? Is there any is there any comments? Any other registrants?
There are not.
There are not. Okay. Ms. Carter.
I move to grant.
I second.
Motion to grant by Ms. Carter, seconded by Alder Verveer. To grant, is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Next up, item 13, Taylor Nicole Wine and Cupcakes. That's at 2352 South Park Street. Is there a registrant for this one, Jim?
Yes, Shakia Curtis is registered and in Zoom.
Hello? Shakia, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello.
Did you discuss your application with the Alder, the police, and the neighborhood?
So Ed and Dr. Rubin, the president and vice president of Urban League, talked to the Alder, and I held a meeting and talked to, I believe, one of the captains, and held it open for the community as well. So I did not personally talk to the Alder, but it was talked to him with the Urban League president and vice president.
Okay, and Alder Knox?
Yeah, I had a phone meeting with Dr. Anthony, and Ed Lee, and we talked. This is one of their occupants in the hub building, and so she's applying for her license to operate in that hub facility. So I did talk to them at length about this person's license.
Okay. That sounds good. Alder or Ms. Carter?
Yes, I have a question. What
Okay,
is,
Ms. Carter, would you want to have her present first and then ask questions, or do you want to ask your question
sure,
first?
no, that's,
Okay. Because we just got the preliminaries out of the way. Now, Ms. Curtis, you can tell us about your business.
So Taylor Nicole Wine and Cupcakes will be a wine lounge that focuses on wine and bakery sweet items. And so the goal around that is to create a lounge experience, a very luxury high lounge experience with wines, pairing it with different charcuterie boards, different pastry items, non-alcoholic wine as well, and being able to create just a gathering space to experience wine and different bakery items. The hours will be what we're looking at will range around the hub hours, so between 12 and 8, and then looking to go maybe an hour longer weekend hours, so 9 to 10, but again, looking also around what the hub is going to do and the security as well.
Thank you. Questions from the committee, Ms. Carter?
yeah, I have a couple questions. So is the Urban League part of your business? Have they invested? I'm just trying to figure out why they were the ones to talk to the alder and not you.
We had a meeting, so we have a meeting every Tuesday, and Ed told me that he would just reach out. So we were going through getting the meeting together and making sure they're there. They own the project, so I was just reaching out of who had contact with their relationships, and so that was the way that we went to. And it was more so inviting him to the meeting, and I believe there was a family emergency that he couldn't attend the meeting, and so there was just a conversation around the project due to that. The alder, the day of the meeting, there was a conflict, so I didn't get to personally talk to him.
Okay. Okay, and so you're talking about your hours that you've written here on your application, which is 11 till 8. Have you changed that to noon? And then also you have, go ahead.
So being in to set up, but again, it's looking at what is going to be conducive with a crowd and customers. And so that's just conversation with the hub. The hub opens at, I believe, 9, but what is going to be conducive for business is what I'm looking at.
Okay, but you're saying 11 o'clock is when you're going to be setting up and your doors are open at noon? I'm just looking at your application.
Okay, so 11, I'll keep it that way. I don't want to be stuck to that, but I am looking at maybe it may just after having a meeting with different vendors that are already in the building, that 12 o'clock may be a good time. Like 11 may be just too early for staffing and paying a staff.
Okay, and then on the weekends, you're being open till 10?
Yes.
PM?
Yes.
Okay. And you might be open later if the hub is open later, or 10 is
No, I was saying we may close earlier,
Oh,
depending
you may
on the
close
hours of
earlier.
security. Mhm.
Oh, okay. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Alder Knox?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little context from the conversation I had with the Urban League. This is one of their businesses that will be operating in their building. They also indicated that they plan to have a restaurant that probably would be applying for their own license, and that they may even apply for a license, you know, from the Urban League. So that's kind of how they describe it. They'll have several vendors in their facility, but this particular applicant would have their own license and operate during the time that they determine. So that was kind of the conversation that we had. And I would have met with this person, but unfortunately my sister had a heart attack. I had to go to Milwaukee, so we just scheduled a phone meeting later where I talked to Ruben Anthony.
Thank you. Alder Revere?
Thank you. First to the applicant, welcome to Madison. Thanks for wanting to do business in our community. I have a very simple question for you, and that is, are you seeking a full liquor license for beer, spirits, and wine, or simply wine?
Because I am looking that they can purchase, that customers can purchase, I was advised that I would need the full license of wine and spirits, so that they can also purchase bottles to leave the store or to leave the lounge.
Oh, I see. Because of to go, okay. Because
Yeah.
in reading your business plan and all your application materials, I didn't get that. I guess I didn't catch that. It's all about wine, and I
Yeah,
assumed
no,
it was.
yeah.
I assumed the wine consumption was on premise, and I was trying to save you $9,900 by
I'm trying to
suggesting
save that
a
myself.
wine only license.
Yeah,
But I understand
I
if
was
you
trying
want,
to
if
save
you,
that.
yes, I understand it. The advice you received is that a Class C wine license would not allow for sales of wine for consumption off the premise.
Mhm. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And could, either now or at an appropriate time, Chair, could I ask Attorney McReynolds to just confirm that, or the Deputy City Clerk, that the Class C wine is not an option for this applicant?
Sure, yes.
The only way that you can sell to go a bottle of wine is if it's the remainder of a bottle of wine that was already purchased with a meal at the restaurant.
With the Class C?
With a Class C wine
Under
license, yes.
Class C.
Yep.
So that leaves Class A or Class B combination.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any?
To you.
Are there any further questions from the committee? Attorney McReynolds.
Thank you, Chair. A question for the applicant. I think I saw on your application that you estimate that your capacity is 100 indoor and 100 outdoor. Could you explain where the outdoor is? I was trying to kind of look at the maps, and because of my background, I couldn't tell where the outdoor space is. Could you talk about that in relation to where your indoor space is?
So indoor, because there is like a shared venue space. So there's an atrium that's outside of the suites or the store spaces, and then there's an actual, when you go outside the doors, the atrium doors, then there's also tabled selection areas as well. That is slotted off for either vendors or events, etc. So that is the outside area that I'm talking about. So there's an outside of the actual lounge, which is the atrium, and then there's an outside, physical outside.
Okay. And would you be the only vendor of alcohol to sell products for that atrium and that outside section?
No, and so I drew a small, like a square around the space that is right outside of my door and what I'm looking for. And the kind of outside area. But after having a talk, that may be adjusted because the league is also just talking about having their full license that will cover the atrium. So the space that I'm talking about literally is right outside of my door, not the full atrium.
Okay. And so would there be a way of keeping your customers within that space?
My goal and idea was signage and just kind of a chair table that put the sign of Taylor & Co. because on one side of me there's a coffee shop, the other side there's a mixed eatery, and then there's a full restaurant. And so there's very vendors where it would have to be signed and explained based off of what they're going to do with their areas.
Okay. I'm taking a look at the answer about premises, question number 8, and I think I would like that answer amended to be more specific if possible based on what you just stated, because I'm looking at the premise section and it's unclear to me from this section where your license exactly would apply, because we can't, well, we'll get into this later, but the ALRC cannot or should not give you a license for the entirety of that address. So can you again just describe for us where exactly your alcohol will be stored and served?
So in the suite that I am renting, which is the suite 105 at that address, and looking to have a squared off area. I'm sorry, I don't have the direct feed in front of me, right outside of my door, of the actual lounge. The doors open, they slide up like gates. And so that was kind of the idea of just that small pour over right in front of the door, not the actual full atrium. So the suite site 105, right outside of the door area, and then a selected area right outside of the atrium, which is selected for suite 105.
Thank you. That helps a lot. Thank you, Chair. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
Yeah, so I'm looking at page 23 of your application, or at least that's what it is on my PDF. And you're saying that that you have a business on either side of you, but has the establishment given you permission to use that atrium, because that atrium would be able to be used by any of the vendors? Am I right on that?
Yeah, and so I'm not looking to be licensed in the atrium.
Okay, but you're going to have tables there.
So no, so right outside of my door, my suite door, or where I am renting.
Yep, I see it.
The entrance, yeah, the entrance is where I am looking to just have 2 to 3 seated table chairs that will just cover right in front of my entrance as a pour over, not the actual atrium.
Okay. And I know there's outdoor seating actually outside of the building would your
Mhm.
clientele be
So I'm
able
not
to go
looking.
up? Go ahead.
So we had a meeting about it and how they're looking to have it sectioned off for the suites. So no, I'm not looking for the full. So again, what is assigned to Suite 105?
Okay. My question was that I know there's going to be seating outside of the
Mhm.
building on the side of Park Street. Would your clients be going over there with their drinks or just in front of 105?
So I don't have permission for that. I
Okay.
only have permission for my side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Are there any further questions from the committee? Are there any points of discussion? Attorney McReynolds.
Yeah, so for the ALRC, I am concerned about overlapping licenses at this location. It helps a lot that the applicant specified Suite 105 and maybe any section outside of Suite 105 that's specifically designated for Suite 105 by the hub. I just want to make sure that here and going forward with the hub that you're thinking about, who is licensed where, and that, we can't have like multiple people licensed for the atrium or this address or the outdoors. Like it has to be, one applicant is responsible and only responsible for the premises. So just keep that in mind as you're making your decisions regarding this property. Thank you.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So with there being varied tenants and us renting and having our own space, can you clarify what do you mean by that? Because there's varied tenants that will be looking for that. Are you saying within our rented suite spaces that we can be licensed and it's just in the atrium area that we cannot?
Well, so definitely each vendor could be licensed within their suite space. And then I think the ALRC has to think about how to license the rest of the space. If it is a space that's within your control, so for example, if it's, marked off where your space is in the atrium, I think you can be licensed for that space in the atrium. My, I guess, concern for the ALRC is they couldn't just say you're licensed for Suite 105 and the atrium, because then if other applicants, like multiple people can't all be just the atrium. It will have to be more specific than that.
Okay, and to clarify, I'm not looking to be licensed for the atrium.
So
That's for my space that is assigned to me
So-
in front of my suite.
Ms. Curtis, you're going to place tables, they're going to be within the threshold of Suite 105. Is that what you're telling us?
Right. Yes.
So you're not asking to cross that threshold?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Alder
Madam
Knox.
Chair, oops, sorry.
Yeah, Attorney McReynolds, you can finish.
Sorry. So just on that topic then, are you no longer planning any outdoor capacity that would be, like, will you get an assigned outdoor space specifically for Suite 105?
So that's the plan. That is for each suite. We're supposed to, what I am And I know that when I ask the questions at our meeting with Jim, that we can adjust or we can apply for, I can't think of the proper name, when that changes. And that is officially assigned. Right now, I'm looking to be licensed in my suite and right in front of my door. What is assigned to me at this current moment? I am looking in the future to have the outside of the physical building when that is assigned, when that is roped off for each tenant.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Alder Knox?
Yeah, in my conversation, that was my understanding. This tenant in that building is applying for their alcohol license for their designated space. They did talk about wanting to come in the future to the hub to get a license for, the other parts of the facility, and that they assume if they get this restaurant business that they're expecting, they may apply for their own license as well. That's kind of how it was communicated to me.
Well, if the hub, so Alder Knox, in your understanding, is who do you think, who's going to apply for that establish that restaurant and apply for a license for the rest of the space?
At the restaurant, you mean the rest of the hub space? They were saying they were thinking of applying for a license to hub. So
hub itself.
I don't know how that would look, but that's kind of what the discussion was.
Okay, so I think the big takeaway is that we just can't have overlapping footprints. So
yeah,
Ms. Curtis, if you want to apply for outdoor space at some point in the future, that that space can't already be licensed by the to the hub.
Right.
Is everyone on the same page here? Ms. Carter?
Yeah, well, here's my concern, and anyone can correct me, but when you look at exhibit on page 24 of the application, that whole atrium is one open space. And if each vendor is going to have chairs on the outside and it's not roped off or designated to be, even if it's 3 feet or 5 feet out and 3 tables, is still going into the atrium. But my concern is having control of that space as a licensee. I think it becomes a little bit chaotic if everyone on that strip on the first floor gets a liquor license. I think it's the area for 105 or whatever the number is for everyone else is going to have to be designated that is their space. And also, if it's going to use the 2552 South Park Street, it should also say Suite 105 or however they have it listed in your lease.
On the lease it is.
Okay, because we're going to be getting multiples for 2352 South Park Street, but the application, I believe, and anybody can correct me, should really designate the suite number.
And that's my apology if I didn't put the suite number. The lease is designated with 105 as the mailing address.
All right, thank you.
Alder. Are you, Mr. Verbeek, Are you satisfied? Do you know what the application for the premises is? I think I understand it verbally. I just want to make sure that we are, because things have gotten kind of confusing in the course of this discussion.
Yeah, I will say of the 7.5 years I've been here, I did go to their informational session. It's the first time I've ever gone to an informational session meeting. And I was able to see the space and we talked about it. But yeah, I understand the inside of the restaurant and then understand that there will be sort of a section in front of the restaurant. And I think that's what the applicant's talking about, getting licensed right now. But in the future, maybe there'd be a change of premises filed where they would expand it to any outdoor stuff beyond that area.
Okay. So perhaps the city or the committee could consider a type of condition requiring a tape or on the floor, or, it doesn't have to be that specifically, but just so we know, so everyone's on the same page, customers, owners, enforcers, about how much of that space right outside the door is licensed. Ms. Carter.
Oh, you could finish your sentence.
I was
Chair.
done.
I was just, well, that is exactly my concern. I mean, we had the same situation downtown, Alder Revere would recall, where there is Ancora and then there's other stores, retail, and they share the same atrium, and who is overseeing that area. My concern is that someone gets whatever wine from Nicole Wine and Cupcakes Lounge, and they decide to go take their wine to another area. So, I mean, just having more control, because we don't want complaints on this location that really should be complaining about another location. It gets very convoluted. So as long as we have some kind of idea, and as long as we, since multiple plate vendors are going to apply for a liquor license, we really need to think about how this is going to affect each vendor.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? Okay, then we can move to discussion. Is there any further discussion or a motion? Are there any other registrants?
There are not.
Alder Knox.
Yeah, I'll move for approval, and if I get a second, I'd like to make a comment.
Motion
Second.
for approval by Alder Knox, second by Ms. Carter. Go ahead, Alder Knox.
Yeah, from what I understand and what the applicant has presented, it'll be a license for her suite. Maybe we should identify it as suite, what did she say, 105 or whatever the case may be?
105.
And I guess I think the chair was trying to identify the space that goes along with that suite, but I would assume outside of that suite, there's some dedicated space that's included in that. And then I think we're just going to have to probably address any future applications as they come to us and try to clarify that beyond that. But there's no other license holder at that address and at that suite at the current time. So I'll move for approval.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Alder Revere.
Thank you. I'm pleased to second the motion with the understanding that the license premise description will be amended by the deputy city clerk on the application, consistent with this conversation, this discussion. So obviously inserting the clarification that it's Suite 105. And then if indeed it also includes some outdoor space tonight, immediately adjacent to the entrance, that should be included as well. I'd also suggest, if I could continue here, Chair, I'd also suggest that we ask the Deputy City Clerk to please amend the entry in Legistar to include Suite 105 on the actual agenda as it will appear at the Common Council on December 10th, and also clarify the outdoor seating capacity. Again, if any, it's still unclear to me if the intent is to allow for a little outdoor seating tonight, or if the assumption is that it would completely come back with a change of licensed premise application in the future once that's clarified.
The outdoor will be the future.
Okay, very good.
So
thank you.
It sounds like the applicant.
Thank you. So then, just to finish my thought quickly, sorry to talk over you, Chair. Then obviously in Legistar we should amend the exterior to 0, so the capacity would only be, I guess, 100 persons inside and 0 outside until we see this applicant again at a future meeting for a change of license premise for the outdoor premise extension. Thank you.
Sounds good. Did you catch all of that?
I did.
There's been a motion and a second. I believe Ms. Carter is recorded as a seconder. So is there any further discussion of the motion? Ms. Carter.
Yes, I hate to beat, well, anyway. For your indoor, you're saying 100. Does that include the entire atrium? For like a special event, 100 people, or 100 people can fit in Suite 105?
I'm talking about my suite only.
So 100 people can fit in Suite 105. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion of the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? To grant? I see no objection. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and staying. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is item 14, Halong Bay, 1353 Williamson Street. 1315. Item 15.
Yep.
Item 15, Halong Bay, 1353 Williamson Street. Is there any registrant for this one?
Yep, Jacqueline Lay is registered and in Zoom.
Ms. Lay, did you discuss this application with all the required parties?
Yes, I have.
Sounds good. Tell us about your request.
So my name is Jacqueline again, and then my sister is Stephanie Lay. So we are the second generation owners of Halong Bay Restaurant. Our aunt and uncle wanted to retire, so then we took over the business. We did apply early, actually, December last year, and then had the meeting in January, and we were granted the license. But then now we've had to go under construction to bring things up to code, and we wanted to add in a bar as well.
Thank you. So you said your license was granted earlier?
It was granted, and then I know we have the 180 days where we need to then pay for it and actually put it into use, but we weren't able to since then we had to go under construction.
Okay.
And construction ended up taking obviously much longer than we wanted and anticipated.
Is there a question from Alder Verveer?
Thanks, Chair. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Good to hear your voice. I was just curious. You can probably anticipate my question as a loyal patron. When do you anticipate actually being able to reopen Willie Street?
So we haven't announced to the full public yet, but we will want to open it in January at the latest.
Okay, that sounds great. Otherwise, a plug for Little Palace.
Yeah.
and your much of the Halong Bay menu is there currently.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. Sounds great. Thanks and good luck, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any discussion or motion?
I'm pleased to move to grant as we did earlier this year.
Alder Revere moves to grant. Anyone want a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Carter. Any discussion? Any objection to granting them? Seeing no objection, the motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lay, for staying this whole time. Have a good rest of your night. I believe that covers all of our public hearings and applications. Item 16, summary of recent calls.
We do have.
Thank you. What would I do without Jim? Item 18, second request to extend license issuance beyond 180-day limit for the Guild 668 State Street. Is there an applicant? Is there a registrant for this one?
Yes, Sonia Tan is registered in Zoom.
Hi.
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 Go ahead and tell us about your request.
Yeah. We are seeking an extension because our construction project has been delayed and it's now expected to be completed end of January 2025 to early February 2025. The construction is delayed because we had some long material lead times and also some unforeseen changes. In addition, our landlord has also brought forward the plan to update the building's facade. But we do expect, construction is underway and we do expect it to be completed end of January 2025 or latest early February 2025.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee members? Is there a motion?
I move to grant.
Motion to grant by Alder Verveer,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Carter. Any objection? Any discussion? Is any objection to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. The extension is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and for staying till the end. Okay, I think we're ready to go to item 16.
Actually, the applicant in which we referred to future meeting is registered and in attendance in Zoom right now.
Okay, and that was
item 10.
Item 10, okay.
Harshal Patel is registered in support, available to answer questions and in Zoom.
Attorney McReynolds.
Jim, would they need a motion to reconsider?
Yep, they would.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion to reconsider by Alder Verveer. Should say Alder Verveer asks unanimous consent to reconsider it.
Need a second on that.
Oh, we need a, okay.
Second.
Okay, a motion to reconsider by Alder Verveer, second by
Alder Carter.
Ms. Carter.
Ms. Carter.
Any objection? Seeing none, we are back on item 10. Mr. Patel, have you made the notifications to the alder, the police, and the neighborhood?
Correct, I have. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, we did make all the notifications to all the different departments that were notified. We also posted the orange poster for our public hearing, held that. Nobody showed up, but we were there for the entire duration. But essentially, to kind of summarize, we acquired the hotel, which is the Holiday Inn Madison at the American Center, and are looking to apply for a license to operate the existing small restaurant and bar that is within the hotel facility.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? Is there anything changing, big changes coming to the way the business is going to be run?
The hotel is probably in the next 6 to 12 months going through a renovation, but as far as the bar and restaurant, no major changes in operations. Same hours, same menu. It's more of an amenity for the hotel guests that stay at there in the office park. Not so much, a popular bar, I guess you can call it, that people come and visit. But it's a 138 room hotel. The restaurant seats probably 50, 60 people. There is a meeting space which is attached, about 2,000 square feet, that can probably fit about 80, 90 people. But unfortunately, with COVID and just us kind of getting into it, the revenues and the business isn't very busy at all. But there'll be a hotel renovation, but as far as bar operations or restaurant operations, nothing's changing.
Okay, that sounds good. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none? Is there any discussion or a motion?
I move to grant.
Motion by Alder Revere. Alder Miadzi.
Second.
Seconds. The question is grant the Class B combo. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Patel. Thank you, committee. Now, I think we're ready to move on to item 16. Report of Madison Police, summary of recent calls.
Sure. So I think just one of the main things to bring up, we have been working with management at Roxy's, which is one of the new establishments that opened in late August, right off of State Street there. They opened the Stuffed Olive Roxy and the Double Tap Arcade Bar. We had been seeing an increase in some disturbances and things at the establishment, namely around our 2 Halloween time weekends, and also during some of the weekends prior when we had officers there. We've found out that they had a VIP area where they had bottle service. And we were pretty sure that that was not allowed. So we checked with City Attorney Zillivi, who was able to then look through the statutes just to make sure that nothing had been updated, but that yes, indeed, bottle service was prohibited, and that they were not to be operating like that. So she had sent an email initially to them, as well as with their attorney. They immediately complied. This is the first venture in Wisconsin that they have had. So I do believe that it was that they were just unfamiliar with the law and if they were able to do that or not. So they immediately complied, took all the information about the bottle service and everything off of their website. And then Tony DeSalvo, who is based in in Iowa, came to meet with me in person the next week. He came back. They are redoing their VIP area, which they think will help. They obviously are not doing the bottle service. And we just talked about some strategies with them about what we were seeing as either large crowds, namely coming right out of their establishment, and having disturbances in front of their venue. So we talked about some strategies with them on being able to try to mitigate those things. They have been very receptive. They actually had new management coming in. They have a security team that's very good, that calls us and is appropriate in addressing the needs. So we're optimistic that that's going to start to go well. Those first 2 weekends, I think, when they were at their capacity, was just, I think, some growing pains of realizing, the new venue, and when they have 500 people, where 500 people go and are in the street afterwards. So we're working with them on that. Other than that, just a couple procedural things that I noticed when I was just looking through calls for service and some erroneous addresses that are associated. So I will get those cleared up. Namely, it really confused me because it has Gibbs Bar listed as 201 West Mifflin Street. So if you're seeing that there's a bunch of odd calls there, that's actually the library. That is not the bar. So I will just get some of those things cleared up, as well as things like Merch Masala on there at 449 State. It's no longer in operation. And then there's some calls on there to 1146 Williamson Street, and that's still incorrectly tagged as Lao Ling Zhong. That was their address. They have their sister restaurant that still operates, but that is now Willie Street Eats, and he does not have a liquor license. So if you're just looking through those weekly bulletins and you notice those are errors that I will get corrected. Otherwise, no other major issues to note or report.
Thank you, Captain Kamaski. Is there any questions for Captain Kamaski? Alder Revere.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Captain. I just wanted to add that I don't know if the Central Library is actually a mistake, because there is a liquor license there. And my last recollection, although Jim can correct me, is that Gibbs does hold the liquor license there with the library for special events like wedding receptions. But so I think that might be the name of their catering operation. But there has always been a liquor license granted by the city for the library since it was renovated several years ago.
That would make sense then. So the calls that we're seeing related to it were not did not have anything to do with the catering aspect or Gibbs with other calls.
Yes,
So
exactly.
makes sense.
Exactly.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Is there any other questions for the captain? Seeing none. Report of the city clerk's office.
I have nothing to draw attention to, but I'm available to answer questions.
Thanks for running a smooth election once again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ms. Carter.
I just have a question. Jim, you said we received an email from, I don't even know how to pronounce the name now, I'm too tired, but Misty Restaurant. It was number...
It should be in the packet.
7.
Yep.
I'm looking in the packet and I didn't see it.
Did you refresh?
Okay, I'll refresh.
Because it wasn't in the initial one, but they sent it, and I think I attached it at 2:00 today.
Okay. I'll look later.
Okay. Otherwise,
Thank
if you go into Legistar, it is one of the 3 attachments with the legislative file.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That had nothing to do with the summary, so if anyone has questions on the summary, feel free to ask.
I see Alder Miadzi.
No, I just want to commend you that you did a great job tonight.
Yes, yes, yes.
Who are they talking to?
I don't know, me. I don't know.
Colin, you did a great job tonight. That's what we're saying.
Sorry
I only
about
made
that.
like
I guess
10
I should.
mistakes.
No, you did great. You did great.
Thank you. Is there I guess that's it. So if there's a motion to adjourn
I move adjournment.
in a second.
Second by Alder Miadze.
Motion by Ms. Carter, second by Alder Miadze, and seeing no objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next month.